This is a handmade in Australia Ormsby SX machine. And to understand this guitar, we have to go back in time a bit. You might have heard of Black Machine guitars, an incredibly popular and equally just as rare brand of guitars. Their most famous model, the B2, came out in 2001, offering a modern take on a Super Strat. Kind of like an Ibanez RG, but flat top, very thin with very light chambered bodies. But they really started getting big in the late 2000s. By 2012, they were selling on the second-hand market for upwards of $20,000 US. And even if you had the cash, they weren't always readily available. In other words, there was a very high demand with a very limited supply, made even more limited by Black Machine's orders being closed a lot of the time. So to fill that void, quite a number of builders started making their take on the Black Machine guitars. There was Skirvison, Siggery, Blackwater and Ormsby. In 2013 they made a run of custom shop Hype Machine guitars, a play on words nodding to the Black Machine's hyped up status. This run did well, and in 2014 Ormsby offered a different run with a different model, the SX Machine. This took the Ormsby SX model and combined it with the Hype Machine specs. Here's an excerpt from the announcement of the run.
So what is it? Okay, I grabbed an SX and a Hype Machine and blended them together. The SX body is slightly smaller, with a better cutaway, to allow full easy access all the way through to the 29 frets. Add in the Hype Machine body thickness, 38mm, and well thought out chambering for resonance and added mid-range thump, and it creates a lightweight, very playable guitar.
So with that information, let's take a closer look at this guitar from that run, which was finished in 2015. Little disclaimer, I bought this guitar secondhand, so it does have a few dents and scratches, but those don't reflect on the quality of the guitar. This guitar consists of a chambered one-piece ash body, which is topped with a book-matched quilt maple top, which reminds me of the ocean. The top is finished in gloss, but the rest of the guitar is coated in a satin. It's got a 3-piece set Tasmanian blackwood neck. This is a native Australian wood, but according to Google it's somewhat similar to hickory. The headstock has a quilted maple cap, and the fretboard is ebony. There are 29 stainless steel frets, and the fretwork is great. The inlays seem to be turquoise and really work well with the overall colour and theme of the guitar. The logo is also inlaid with the same material. It's got a bone nut and 6 hipshot locking tuners. One very unique thing about this guitar is the splayed scallops, a nice addition that you can really feel make a difference on the high E bends. The bridge is a custom multiscale bridge made for Ormsby. Since the time this guitar was made, they've migrated to a different string-through type bridge, but surprisingly there isn't too much of a difference in feel when playing. The pickups are both in-house made by Ormsby, the A2 old school single in the neck, a fairly standard single coil, and the Ormsby nunchucker in the bridge. This is kind of like a higher output PAF. The controls are a very simple volume, 3-way switch and tone with a push-pull to split the humbucker, allowing for pretty cool sounds interacting with the next single coil in the middle position. So let's hear it. As always, a sound demo will be affected greatly by every piece of gear I use in getting this sound to you, and it'll also be greatly changed by YouTube's compression and by what speakers you listen to, so try and use this demo just as a reference with those things in mind. This is an expensive guitar. I don't know what it originally listed for, but it wasn't cheap, and for the price you wouldn't expect there to be too many flaws. And there really isn't. The only thing really worth mentioning is that over the 6 years it's been in existence, the rubber rings on the volume and tone knobs have started to degrade, but they seem to be a pretty cheap and easy replacement, so I'm not too worried. Other than that, I'm not a huge fan of the hard case it came with. This is a very standard kind of one-size-fits-all hard case, not fitted great. There's a little bit too much wiggle room for my liking for such an expensive instrument. However, if you watched the unboxing video about this guitar, you'll notice that the previous owner shipped this guitar from Australia to Ireland in this case with no extra packaging, and the case was just wrapped in some plastic. This case was the only thing standing between that beautiful guitar and a delivery driver who was having a bad day. And it did its job. The guitar didn't get damaged in shipping with almost no protection other than this case. So while it definitely could be improved, I can't knock it without mentioning that it did a stand-up job protecting the guitar. I own 3 Ormsbys in total, 2 made in Korea and this one made in Australia, and I'm sure the next question will be, what's the difference? Well, aside from the more premium wood selection, there's certainly a difference in feel. The finish on the back of the neck feels a little more natural, and the weight is a huge thing for me. This is hands down the lightest guitar I own. I can pick it up with a finger and a thumb. It weighs almost nothing. The chambering not only makes it very lightweight, but it also makes the guitar a bit more mid-bass too. It changes the sound, and it can get a little bit muddy on higher gains, but it also excels in cleans. So one last question, and it's a big one. Is it better? Is it better than its production counterparts? And I think I'm gonna have to say no. It's different. Not better, different. It feels more premium, and it certainly does a few things that the other guitars can't. But that doesn't make them worse or this better. I have access to all 3 guitars and use all 3 regularly. I treat them more like different flavors. I'd like to see this model make a comeback though. The shape and design is fantastic and probably my favourite part of this whole thing. It's just a really well designed quality instrument. That's all from me. Remember to like the video if you liked it and check out the other reviews too. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.